you're lower than usual, but that could be a thing on my end.
I'll fix that real quick. Open volume mixer. Let's see. You know what? Oh, give me sound settings. I should do. Okay. I should be much louder for you now.
Yeah, you're much louder. That might be too loud.
Okay. Well, you have to turn me down your side. I'm using a different bus for them, so
okay.
It should be completely separate. All right, fade into black. Starting in 5, 4, 3.
Like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for February 13th, 2025 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, games are happening now and later, and that includes a ton of news from that state of play and reviews for Avowed. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Sean, TurboShawn McDowell. Sean, how are you doing?
How could they do me like this, Jeff?
Yeah, how could they? Which thing are you talking about now?
Days Gone remastered? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, fair enough. We were gonna get the Days Gone remastered. It's coming for you. I was confused about the wording. They said that it's remastered and getting an update on PlayStation 5, and then new modes were coming to PC. Is it?
It's what they're doing with all of the PS5 upgrade stuff, you know, the Horizon update, the Spider-Man update, all this stuff that's been $10. You know, they like backport the visual features from the PC version. They add new modes, they charge console players $10, and then it gets added to the PC version.
Right. Okay. So that stuff will be new for the PC version as well, like improvements.
Yeah, it'll be the modes will be DLC that's paid for, but the visual stuff is all just new for PS5.
All right, makes sense. They want to get their money. Fair enough. I understand.
They want to re-up the MSRP.
Yes, that's exactly. The plan yes, there. That's really what it's all about at the end of the day. But yeah, Days Gone shall return, right? Am I right?
Well, on the plus side, this means nothing has changed because I did commit to starting over on my own time the PC version. Right. Now that I don't have a PS5, because who needs a PS5?
All right.
I'm gonna restart a save file on my own time so that way and get back to where we were and just seamlessly continue the series when it's time to do so.
Yep, we'll make that happen. Yeah, save transfer. I don't know if he has a Dex drive to make that happen.
Yeah, fire up the Game Shark.
Yeah, exactly. There was that state of play yesterday. That was fun. The Avowed reviews are out. We'll talk about that here in a second. I've been playing a lot of that. A lot of games are coming out right now. A lot of good stuff. There's that Like a Dragon, Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii.
Demo. One.
What's that?
You nailed the name there.
I'm sure I did. I'm sure I got every single word, in fact. It is the demo's out, and based on that demo, having a good time with that game. Just a lot of good stuff happening right now. You got anything taking up a lot of your time that you can even talk about right now?
Not that I can talk about.
Okay, yeah. See, yeah, it's like some embargoes are up, others are not.
You know what? Annual tradition this week when I got together with the homies, we played some NFL Blitz.
Oh, fun. Fantastic.
To celebrate the big weekend, and that's always a good time. We also played we play usually 2000 on a Dreamcast, but we also fired up NFL Blitz 25, the fan project that's for the N64 version. And guess what?
Patrick Mahomes is very good at that.
Oh yeah, Chiefs won. So
yeah. Oh, there you go.
Just saying, just interesting.
Well, I mean, listen, Blitz is that alternate reality that we don't want to actually live in, right?
That's right.
I've always wanted to play through Blitz the League. I've never done that. I've always wanted to. I'm going to find a way eventually to do that. Maybe at the start of next football season.
You don't actually want to, but no, you're Jeff Grubb. You definitely want to.
I definitely want to. Mostly because the NFL hated it. Like, that's a huge reason I want to play it. So.
Not just them.
Yeah, well, fair enough. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds or by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Avowed review roundup. The Avowed reviews have landed. Xbox's huge first-party release arrives in early access form today. People can start playing it today. And I'll say I recommend it, but let's get through some of these reviews real quick. VG 24/7 gave it a 5 out of 5. Says, that's what Avowed is. Strong storytelling, great combat, lovely visuals, and utterly charming. It's not going to light everyone's hair on fire, but that's fine, because I know for a certain subset of people, refined people of taste, if you ask me, he's talking about me, Avowed will enjoy cult classic status. It doesn't necessarily push the envelope, but nor does it need to. It's exactly what it needs to be. Inverse gave it a 9 out of 10. Pure Xbox gave it an 8 out of 10. VGC 4 out of 5, and said, Avowed is a solid action RPG with an entertaining script, satisfying combat, and impressively detailed environments. The inability to clean up side quests after the main story is beaten can be frustrating, but take your time with it and enjoy everything it has to offer, and you'll find plenty of memorable moments. IGN gave it a 7 out of 10, and The Gamer gave it 3 out of 5, and said, Avowed is a valiant attempt at fantasy you can play your way, but while it delivers well enough with combat, the narrative just isn't there. Too ambitious in what it wants to do, it falls way short. It's a very mediocre version of the masterpiece it tries to be, but it's also a solid version of just another video game. The story goes nowhere and all ends up the same way, but maybe the journey is just about worth it. On Metacritic, it's hovering around the low 80s, 80, 82, okay, kind of bouncing around there. I think it's going to probably settle in around 80, 81. We'll see. I'm not too surprised to hear this is divisive. I thought it would be a little bit higher based on how much I'm enjoying it, but it's one of those situations where, if a game is very much appealing to me, I think that means there's going to be a lot of people who don't super dig it. I really am enjoying it, though. I'm probably about 15 hours in, maybe longer now. I've been playing a lot the last couple of nights especially. And it is just it's a very playable game, first of all. Very easy, just hop into, start doing something, and you're going to find something interesting very quickly. And whether that is you wanting to explore things on your own or taking on the quests, all of that leads to something fun. Like, you're going to end up doing something fun when really the quest, and they scale up and down in terms of being very epic or surprisingly epic, where you start them and, like, of course, this is a classic, computer RPG thing, right? There's a small little quest that is you think is going to be nothing, and then one thing leads to another and leads to another, and then suddenly you're trying to convince a god not to go into a giant statue and crush the world, right? That's the kind of thing that can happen in this game, and I found it very memorable. I think maybe what people are talking about, like the overall story, like the main
quest line,
the main plot, maybe not even the main quest line, just the main plot of the world in the story. Maybe that's what they're disappointed by.
Like the story itself in the the main campaign.
I think so, but for me, that's been happening in the background as each of the individual quest lines take front and center, and then spending time with the side characters that have joined my band so far. They are, I think, very cool. They flesh out the world. They do the classic recent computer RPG thing of chiming in when you're having conversations with NPCs to add a little bit of flavor. I think all that stuff is really well done. Really, where the game shines is a couple areas. The combat rules. It's just, I wouldn't be surprised if id helped out with this game based on how fun it is to just hit things and shoot things with magic. It is very impactful, very rewarding, to the point where I was like, I'll be a magic user because this is so awesome, and then I'm like, well, I just can't stop using this axe because every time I hit something, it feels so good. And then winding up the ice axe I have now and watching the ice fling around it as I charge it up, and then just smashing a lower level enemy on the head and having them disintegrate before my eyes. It never gotten old so far. The real thing though is that the game it pushes back against you in a way that I find very satisfying. You're gonna early on be like, okay, here's the next quest I want to go do. and you're going to run out there and it's going to be a band of thugs. And you're like, I've dealt with a handful of these now. This is going to be no problem. And then they have skulls on their head, and it's not exactly like what you're thinking, like Assassin's Creed, the way they do that or something like that, but similar. But it's it really just like, okay, they're way more powerful, and I can try to like brute force my way through this. I can go do what the game wants me to do, which is go do the main quests. And you'll eventually have enough resources to upgrade your armor and your weapons to a higher quality tier, which is like the gear system here. And once you do that, that stuff becomes a lot easier. But what I've done is like, okay, I'm close to that, but I also have found some of these things pretty early, like a book, a grimoire, which is like just a book of spells. And it has a couple spells in there. One that gives
me... man acting like I don't know what grimoire is. Come on.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah, fair enough. Good point. You are a grimoire knower if I've ever seen one. There's, the book of spells that like has a magic armor and a magic weapon. And when I just cast that, and that immediately brings me up to their level. So I'm kind of like going in, preparing myself and trying to like get in, do as much damage as I can before those spells wear off. And then I'll like send my companions in to do their stuff, and like one of them holds enemies down with a bunch of vines that come out of the ground, and the other one teleports in front of them, shoots them with the gun. And while they're doing that, I can sort of fall back, re-up all of my spells, and then get back in the action. It's again just I found my own way to make this work now. And then when I do get into a situation where it's like, oh, okay, now some of these enemies have 3 skulls above their head. I'm like, okay, the game has now pushed me back sufficiently to the point where I'm like, okay, I should go and do something else, find some other ways to upgrade in this world, and then come back to this. And I really enjoy that push and pull when a game does that. I think that's one of the things that Breath of the Wild did really well, and it's a very different expression of that here, but one that I'm very satisfied with. So,
okay,
I think a lot of people. This is how it's going to end up with this game, Sean. I think a lot of people are going to play it, and it's the story is not going to click for them, and they're not going to enjoy this game. And then I think a year from now, there's going to be a dedicated audience of people who are just gaga for this thing still. And it will be like game of the year for a lot of people, I think. It's that good, but it's not going to be everybody's game of the year. I think that's where it's going to end up.
Interesting. Okay, because to offer a different perspective, this is not the kind of game I would normally play. I'm not really into fantasy for the most part. And from what I haven't played it yet either. From what I was hearing from people and what I was seeing in the reviews and everything, it seemed like you said, it was a little divisive, a little mixed. I saw scores ranging from like 6 through perfect scores on their given scale. So seems like everyone's finding something different here.
Yeah,
I will say what I was seeing from people was that, again, outsider's perspective, nothing about it seems remarkable. Nothing seems particularly stand out. It seems like, oh yeah, another fantasy Western RPG in the vein of an Elder Scrolls type of thing. Like, all right. But the way you were describing it sounds like, is it just a very well done version of that? You made the combat sound a little more interesting than I've heard from other people. I will say that.
Yes. So I think that it is fair to assess this as not shaking up the genre that it is in, and a genre that is maybe a little overdue for a shakeup. So I think that's where some people are coming at that from. But for me, I would say, the combat alone is something that feels like, oh, they have really pushed it forward for this genre. This is something we have not seen.
Like you were
before.
Saying, sounds like, maybe they got some help from friends in the Xbox family or something like that.
Would not be surprised at all if we find out that it helped out with the combat here.
Interesting.
And then Dan likes this game even more than I do, I think. And he's been talking about how much he likes the setting and the characters and the fantasy elements and all that stuff. So for him, it's clicking super hard. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who are like that. So, hey, it's in Game Pass. I would try it. And
that's why I'm going to try it. Like, why not at this point?
You're going to get right away, you're going to get a mace. And if you go to hit one of those lizard guys that you like in the first 10 minutes, go hit the lizard guy with the mace. And if that feels good to you, keep playing this game, because it's just there's just stuff that makes it feel better and better as you go. and your character just becomes so cool when you're just shooting out pillars of flames and ice spells. And these are like early spells. Like you're going to get more stuff as you go along, and it's going to get more complicated. And all these grimoires, like eventually I found one where it's like, okay, I can shoot out like this, like a fountain of poison or something like that. And that's the one that had the magical staff in it. And it's, oh, okay, I have a completely different character now. And it was just fun to express the combat in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Completely random question here.
Please.
Now you've played it. Does the cover art make any more sense, or is that just a sick ass box art that they made?
Is it that like kind of skeletal looking dude?
Yeah, kind of with like some blooming and stuff going on.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be a godlike, which is you play as a godlike. Someone who is like the feeling element, like the feeling sense for gods on Earth.
Okay.
And
Dan says cover art makes a lot of sense.
Okay, yeah, he's much further into the story. I bet, so.
Okay. I know it's random, but I was just morbidly curious this whole time. I'm like, is this just really cool artwork, or is this, if this leans into like the art style or something like later on? I'm actually kind of.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So is that someone who's because I haven't looked. I'm trying to picture it. So he says it refers to the Dream Scourge, which is the main driving force of the story, a pandemic, a magical pandemic that people are trying.
That's what the story is in this game.
Yeah, basically. Oh. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe the story's better than we thought.
I think it's definitely inoffensive at the worst. Like it's definitely like I am never thinking, wow, this stinks. Most of the time I'm like, oh, okay, that's pushing me forward. And then you again, like there's the side quests are so good. There's one where I'm like, I saved.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is Bonk on his account? He says in chat, there's a lot of political metaphors and they're good. Yes. What is happening? What world am I living in? Dan Reichert's eating vegetables. He understands metaphors. What is happening, Jeff?
I'm actually pretty curious myself. I need him to like fully explain why it's working for him here. And I'm just happy because like that's cool. I agree with him. He's right about this game. It's just surprising that he's the one that's right about the game. Like there's one really cool side quest that I'm not going to spoil. Here's a very small, like not even a side quest, just a world event. You'll be walking past one of the gates. You are an envoy for the government that is part of the main empire. This is a side, a territory that has no government really. And you have the government has built an embassy here. You represent that government. Everyone's pretty skeptical, but you are an authority figure. So you walk past the gate, and one of the guards is like, "Hey, we're searching this lady's cart. There's these rebels everywhere. We need to do something about this and make sure that they don't have any contraband." And so they ask you to do it, and you can go in there and you can find some grenades. And I'm like, we're in a weird place with the rebels where I'm like still trying to feel them out. And so I'm like, I'm gonna take these grenades. And I'm going to see if I can still just let her go and let her know that I know, but that I'm not going to actually like call the cops on her. So I take the grenades, go back to the conversation, and I lie on her behalf and just like didn't find anything. And then she just gives me a knowing look and goes about her business. There's a lot of stuff like that. And then it gets much more like there's modern references to politics, but stuff that would clearly still make sense within the fiction of this world that I really liked. And then the big moment for me was, okay, I love the combat. And yet I got into a situation where there was this, god or godlike trying to do this certain thing. And I think this was the big mission they showed off in the preview. So this is not too much of a spoiler, but I'm still not going to talk about specifics. I love the combat. And yet when I was afforded the opportunity, I was like, no, I'm going to try to talk myself out of this one and see what the options are and maybe take the most extreme position to kind of prove to this guy that he's kind of gone insane. And it gave me all of those options. And I bet in the past, what has happened with this genre, Sean, is that people would like make these games and then they started getting telemetry data on how people actually play them. And they're like, look,
sure.
85% of people just want to fight their way out of everything. We got to just make games for those people because that's the vast majority of the audience. And I think what happened for a little bit was, and this is not just these kinds of games, but all kinds of games, is having the option to ignore something, but having it be there makes your choice more powerful. And this game clearly gets that. And so when you, I think a lot of people are going to just fight their way through that battle, and it's going to be a ton of fun. But by having the option to be like, oh, I could have taught my way out of it, and saying, no, I don't care, I'm just going to kick this guy's ass, it makes kicking that guy's ass more meaningful And the game always does that. In every situation, you always have those options. So your choices feel like real choices, even if there's not a lot to it, which I think there was a lot to it in that specific case. There's not always a lot to it. Either way, though, everything feels more meaningful because this is just a solid, fundamental RPG that really gets what this is supposed to be. So very happy with it.
Yeah, based on the way you're describing it, I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yep, and I don't think it'll be for everybody, but hey, it's on Game Pass. People should go try it.
You know what it is for everybody, Jeff?
What's that?
Headlines.
Headlines. Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, that's just for me until just now. There it is. Okay. Everything announced at Sony's February 2025 State of Play. Let's get into that. There was a State of Play yesterday, 40 minutes. Had about, almost 30 games. I think it was like 25 to 28 games. Maybe 28's right. Some stuff that we definitely knew about. They did focus a lot on stuff that's coming soon. And then yet a few surprises and a few games that I just kind of came out of nowhere for me. But let's start here. Go through this in order. Monster Hunter Wilds coming soon. They talked about that. It's coming February 28th. They showed off Mizutsune. Is that like a monster from that series in the past? I don't remember. I've not played a lot of Monster Hunter before.
It didn't ring a bell for me, but maybe. Who knows? There's so many monsters now.
Shinobi Art of Vengeance, which we have known about before. Yeah. This is part of Sega's effort to bring back a lot of classic franchises. It is coming out August 28th. Looks awesome.
Looks awesome. Looks so good. I'm so excited for this one.
I mean, we're getting this and that Ninja Gaiden 2D game, as well as the Ninja Gaiden 4. But yeah, that's awesome. 2D Ninja games are fantastic. Mark of the Ninja is still one of the best games ever. And this game looks inspired by that at the very least. And then, of course, Shinobi. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. This is it has a closed network test happening next week. It looks a little bit like All Stars Racing Transformed, where like some of the levels they look like more generic takes on Sega franchises.
Well, no, okay, so here's the thing. So we had this moment in chat where me and Mike were both in a chat for this one, and he was like freaking out because he's like, there's no transforming, it's not transformed. I'm like, Mike, it's 5 seconds into the trailer, give it 5 more seconds. 5 more seconds pass, and they transform into all the different forms. But it's like, yeah, but there's no crossovers. I'm like, Mike, the game is called Crossworlds. You really think there's not going to be any crossovers in this game?
And they
Mike, I know you love Transform, but we got to calm down here.
Yeah, just give it a shot, buddy.
Give it a shot. I get where he's coming from, though, because the last Sonic Racing was not great, and Transformed was. So I get wanting to go back to that. I get it.
And I think people want just Transform 2. I think that's really what they want. And I don't know if this is going to be that. But yeah, for
Dan Kilpatrick, unfortunately.
That's right. Yeah, and so throw this game out. It's trash. It's a kart racer where the karts do transform, and then teleporting rings show up on the course that basically change the look and feel of the course. And at one point,
it's different Sonic worlds is what they've shown off so far.
There was but there was the one where they were on an aircraft carrier. And that's why I'm like, hey, is that like Afterburner, or is that like...
That's I thought was a good point. I thought that was just the one from Racing Transformed, which is what makes me think that they're bringing back some of that stuff. I mean, probably has secret unlockables a lot of the time, sure, but...
I think that I really hope that there is... I think that they are going to go with the Transform style of bringing in other Sega franchises, and that's what a lot of the Crossworld stuff will be. Although I
unlock Ryo Hazuki on his forklift,
exactly. And I get focusing on the Sonic stuff at first, but I think they were teasing that a little bit. But we'll have to wait and see if it's going to live up to Transformed. Digimon Story, Time Stranger. Hey, Digimon's coming out in 2025. People still dig Digimon?
The story games, at least, people like those tend to be more RPG oriented and stuff like that. Like Cyber Sleuth is maybe a name you've heard in passing. That's the Persona style Digimon game. People seem to like the story games, and Cam totally took you for a ride with this one. He knew. He saw that Bandai Namco.
Oh, no, I was fully aware. I saw it in chat, too, and said it at the same time, but Tam was just very loud about it. So I'm like, I'm going to let Tam have his magic tricks.
Yeah, it was a good moment, though.
Yep, absolutely.
It was very good.
Lost Soulside, which has been a long time coming. Imran, I think, mentioned he played this in 2017. Which I think is even before Mike played Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight.
Before Mike allegedly
played, right? He made
like
that's probably on his soundboard right next to Penny. This is a character action game. Did it do anything for you?
Oh yeah, I've been looking forward to this game since it was revealed in 2016.
What's its pedigree?
Okay, this is a game where it was one dude who saw Final Fantasy 15 and was like, I want to do that. And because it was like one dude who made this very impressive like tech demo, basically, it scaled up. He got a team. Sony signed it. It's gone through all this stuff. I'm sure COVID slowed all that down, which is why it's been almost 10 years. But yeah, it's gone from, hey, I see something cool that I want to do, and I want to turn into something bigger. And they've turned into something bigger. And I think that's very cool. And I'm looking forward to it. I thought it looked great in this trailer. And like people have played it at this point. So yeah.
Yep. I think that one's really coming out this year. This is one that like Sony is helping to publish. It's not a PlayStation Studios game, but it's a Sony Interactive Entertainment published game. So yeah, that's cool. That's really going to help fill out the year for them. And they've had success with these recently, right? They did the same basically with Stellar Blade.
That's what they did. Yeah, same process with Stellar Blade.
Right, and that worked really well for them. So I think that they're going to be very happy taking these kinds of games, Sherpa them, got it out there eventually, up the mountain of releasing as like a big AAA title on a PlayStation 5. That probably does require a lot of support, and Sony seems to have a good idea of how to accomplish that. Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This is getting a demo, and the demo's out now, or out on Friday. So not based on the demo, based on dreams. Ignored what I said earlier. That is a game that I'm still very much looking forward to. I hope it does very well. I don't know. Where'd you end up with Infinite Wealth?
I bounced off of it at a certain point. I just felt that it dragged its feet a little bit, which is the same problem I had with Yakuza 7. Had the same issue where I just it kind of petered out for me. Then this one, so I historically haven't loved the beat 'em up Yakuza games. That's why I never really got into the series. But this game just looks so wild that I really want to try it anyways. It just it looks so off the wall, and that's what I love about the series, and what I wish I appreciated the gameplay of the series more in its beat 'em up and RPG versions. So I might just try this one out anyways. That's kind of where you're at with the series, right?
Yep. I'm just always like ready to try them out and really appreciate. Of course, the wackiness is the gateway for me. I like games that are just proud to be dumb, and I don't think there's a series that's prouder to be dumb than Yakuza. And I think especially like once you get into the door, you realize, oh my God, all of these characters are so nice and warm and compassionate, and boy, that goes down real nice in 2025. I think people are really going to respond to learning more about Goro Majima in this game. All right, let's see here. Dave the Diver is getting Ichiban's Holiday DLC because eventually it just gets every character in that game. Sure. That was a wild thing to see, right?
Yeah, for me, I was like, yeah, sure. At this point, why not?
Yeah, who's going to stop them?
All the stars, you know?
WWE 2K25, they showed off, that's coming out March 14th. They showed off a lot of that like open zone runaround thing, which is something they have in other 2K sports games. They have it in NBA 2K, and it is a vehicle for microtransactions, as this surely will be.
Who's the genius who called anything related to WWE the Island, though? Yeah. That was... I don't know about that one, Chief.
That's rough, though. You know, Vince McMahon loves going to the island. Borderlands 4 will be released September 22nd. Gearbox announced that during the State of Play as well. Randy Pitchford gave us all a jump scare, but at least he had some news to bring along with it. I don't know if I'm in the mood for a Borderlands again. I really just kind of played the first one. I know people love the second one, and I'm still like, I'm good personally.
I thought the 2012 game was good in 2012, and or 2010, whatever it was. And that's how I feel about Borderlands as a whole. I'm not sure I need it to come back. I haven't exactly been jonesing for that series.
It's, I think that one's just such a hit with, I hesitate to call them casual audiences because they're clearly people who like video games a lot. They just aren't the ones listening to a show like this usually. And there's a lot of them. And boy, that this franchise is just in their butter zone. And so I think that's why we keep getting them.
It was in the Past, I knew a lot of more casual gamers like in college who loved Borderlands 2. It's like all they wanted to play.
Yep.
And so maybe with this Borderlands 4 is the right time, and like enough time has passed that just actually putting a 4 next to the name is enough to like get some of those people to take notice again.
Yeah, I think Borderlands 3 ended up doing very well, and then I think even Tiny Tina's Wonderland was did shockingly well according to
That was a little
Take-Two.
surprising, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean the series just has juice with the people it needs to have juice with. So hey, good for them.
Yeah.
Spliction. Split Fiction, Hazelight Studios, Joseph Ferris's new game. Every time I see this, it's that style game to co-op platformer, basically, is the easiest way to explain it. And every time I see it, it's like, man, there are so many ideas in this game. I need to just play it for myself. So Split Fiction continues to look very good.
Yeah. From what we've seen so far, definitely.
See, Directive 8020. This is the new Supermassive game, right?
Yes.
Coming out October 2nd. It is a Supermassive, like choose your own adventure style horror game, but this time in space and with visuals that I think look pretty impressive compared to some of their recent games. What do you think? Have you played any Supermassive games? Are you like? Did you ever try like the Quarry?
I thought I really like Until Dawn.
Right.
I really, really like that. And I thought it was really fun to play in a group and have everyone like vote on decisions in the moment. Without playing with my friends, though, they don't really do anything for me. And we just never felt compelled to play any of the
Dark Pictures Anthology.
Dark Pictures, yeah. Any of those games. No, so I don't know. Space sci-fi, maybe the setting will be a little more interesting to me, but yeah.
Yeah, the masses are clamoring for Until Shawn. So there you go. New content.
I was gonna say we can't keep making series because someone makes a pun in chat, but that's all we do.
That's the whole business model. Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic is coming June 13th. The Midnight Walk looked really incredible. That is coming May 8th. Will be out for PlayStation 5. We'll have PlayStation VR 2 support as well. It is, I think they described it as cozy horror. It is a it kind of looks a little bit like a Nightmare Before Christmas, some other stuff like in that same vein, but I just thought it looked amazing. Did this one do anything for you?
Visually, at least, yeah. I'm not big into horror, but I did think, it looked really good. And little surprised that, this is the PSVR 2 one, but you can play it without PSVR. Okay, so that's just an extra way to play RE7 style, I would assume. Yeah,
they sort of just slid that in at the end. And PSVR 2, I think they're like, don't think you have to have a PSVR 2 for this. Yeah.
They've been working on this game for a while now. It's like, well, it's been there since the beginning. Why not?
I bet that'll be a very cool way to play that game if I could ever get the guts to do it. Coraline is a good Medusa Lover in chat. Excuse me. XX Medusa Lover 69 in chat said Coraline. That is a good frame of reference. Darwin's Paradox. It's like an octopus platformer. You play as an octopus. Octopus platform makes it sound like that's the genre. It's just a platformer where you play as an octopus, but I thought that looked pretty good. Warriors Abyss is out now for PS4 and PS5. It is a Warriors roguelike game, and it kind of brings the camera out to a little bit of a Hades perspective, which I think people just assume is the roguelike camera perspective now, but I'm fine with that because it looked pretty cool. I don't know, has anyone talked about this game yet? Has anyone like on social media popped off about it yet? Because I saw it get announced, and I'm like waiting to see what people think.
Dan Reichert's sister Kayla has talked about it. That is the only person I know to have talked about it.
Well, she is the Warriors expert, so I'll be most curious to see what she thinks.
Man, I pulled up the Steam page for this game. Oh, this is like I was doing a couple work things during this part of the show, so I missed some of the visuals. This game looks really cool. It's got like this feels weird to say about a Warriors game. Got a bit of a Splatoon thing going on where they're just splashing like neon paint all over the damn place.
Yep, it's got a style to it. Like they made some choices, and
this looks cool.
Yep, it just has a completely different, not completely different, but it has a vibe aside from the Warriors games traditionally. That's like, oh, this has its own identity, and I want to explore it myself. Onimusha 2: Samurai's Destiny. It is coming May 23rd. This is a remaster of Onimusha 2.
Remaster.
Yeah, remaster is the right word for this one. And then Onimusha Way of the Sword. That one's still coming in 2026, but they had more to show from that, including Miyamoto Musashi as the new protagonist. Were you aware of Miyamoto Musashi? Apparently a famous character from lore and history.
It rang a bell when you guys were talking about in the talkover. And yeah, this is something that Onimusha has, I think, not typically strayed away from because of that RE style that all the games have had typically. I'm not a big Onimusha fan, but I think that they, blend in the historical figures, but like in a fantastical way, I think. Maybe I'm getting that wrong.
Is Onimusha the one that always like had the J-pop stars like in the game?
That's the one where, people thought, I think it's 2 where they thought it wouldn't get remastered because it stars like a popular person in Japan as the main character, the bad guy or whatever it was. But and then Capcom announced that the other day and was here in the presentation.
Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater got its release date that had leaked previously, but confirmed now. August 28th. Continues to look really good.
Good.
Yep. Hell Is Us, September 4th. This is another horror game. Bacalar put this on his list of games to keep an eye on, so that should give you an idea. Going to be a good spooky fest. Lies of P Overture is a prequel to Lies of P, announced for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I mean, they're making it sound like this is a standalone, which is probably the right way to do something for these kinds of games. I mean, a prequel, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be DLC, but I'm not sure. The way it's being presented.
I thought people were saying this is the one that says, and yep, Steam says this requires the base game Lies of P.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Reading the screen is overrated. I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at what Polygon wrote here, and they just said prequel. I'm going based on that, and that's not very helpful. I couldn't tell if this was the Wizard of Oz stuff because they're saying prequel, and I think there was a suggestion at the end of the game that would be a follow-up stuff. So maybe that's the eventual sequel is Wizard of Oz. I guess
that sounds right to me.
That sounds, because that feels like that's something you would want to like fully expand upon. Dreams of Another, a Pixel Junk game from the studio that's named Pixel Junk and also made the Pixel Junk games. It is voxel-based third-person shooter where you have a machine gun and you shoot clouds, fog to unveil the world. I don't know. It looked cool, but I don't know how what any of that means really.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that meant, and weirdly on par for Pixel Junk, despite how simple their games tend to play. So yeah, looks cool.
Stellar Blade got a crossover with the Jiggle game, Goddess of Victory Nikki DLC.
Nikke,
yeah. That's coming in June, and it's also when the game comes to PC. So they're like, hey, don't even worry about it, modders. We'll put the freaky stuff in there ourselves.
Man, this is okay. So I mentioned this before. I did check out Nikke when they did the Nier Automata crossover, and I thought it was an all right game.
Sure.
So I have like some affinity for the characters. But I found out, because I never actually played it, the Nier Automata DLC for Stellar Blade, when you say it's like they're adding costumes, they just added a costume that was paid DLC. And what they're doing here, at least they're adding an additional boss fight. So maybe I'll actually check it out because there's actual gameplay to be had here. But it's still a little disappointing. I wish they would add like a level or something. Because
seems slim.
This is their IP, like the Nier stuff I get, but like this they could have done a little bit more with.
Right, they're the people that make those Nikke games, right? Blueprints, a genre-bending, atmospheric architectural adventure where you explore an ever-changing manner of 45 shifting rooms, was announced as a debut trailer, or with a debut trailer. I don't think that's a debut trailer because Lucy knows about this game. Maybe she just
Lucy was talking about that.
Maybe she just saw it in person one time at like an event, and so this is the first time we're really seeing it in an event like this. Either way, it looked kind of like it's in that think 'em up genre, puzzles all over the place, kind of to unlock the next room, that sort of thing. I'm interested in it myself. Abiotic Factor, we played that on this website. It's in early access, still on PC. Once it releases, it'll release on PlayStation as well this summer. Tides of Annihilation. Was this another character action game?
I'm trying to think if I'm getting the name right. Yes, this is the other fantastical character action game that they showed off. And I thought this looked really good. I thought it looked fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can. Let's bring it up here so people can kind of see if that, is that going to work? There we go. Opera. People can kind of get a look at it. Yeah, this one, right, it took place in London because they had the London Eye, and Big Ben was crashed to the ground. And then a hot lady that kind of looked like, what's her name from Underworld, picks up a sword, becomes magic, and starts beating everybody up in a character action kind of way.
Everything you want in an action game.
You're a super character action guy, right? Like, you love these games. You have a pretty good pulse, so you really like Stellar Blade. You thought they did a good job with that. How are you feeling about what feels like a little bit of a deluge, especially from smaller developers around the world?
Cam, y'all had your moment with the Souls games. You got Souls games left and right. You're eating them up. Character action game time, all right? We're eating over here, and I love it. We need more of them. Just put them out there. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad. I don't care. But we're back, baby. We're so back.
It really
back
does
to having,
feel like we're back.
Exactly. We're gonna get like Okami coming out here. We're getting Ninja Gaiden 4. Like, hell yeah, give me more of these. You know what? Some are gonna miss. And that's okay. But people are taking a chance on them again because character action games are fun, man. I love them. I just love how fast paced they are. I love they usually have a good soundtrack to go with them because you need some good beats while you're beating some ass. I can't wait to play this game, Jeff.
Yeah, I think the more I look at it, the more I think it looks really cool. And it's got that slickness, the really attractive characters in a grim dark world, but it's grim dark with like, hey, kind of inspired by From now with all the boss designs, and that just kind of is not a bad thing to me ever these days. It's, of course, From is going to do it better than everyone, but there's a lot of great artists in the world, and this game looks like they are putting many of them to employ. So, looks good to me. Metal Eden was revealed, and it looks like a fast-paced science fiction first-person shooter. Let's see, I have this one here down here as well. I'm trying to remember what this one exactly. Okay, yeah, this one looked like a little bit like Echo Point Nova, but like AAA, and with a lot of good parkour and stuff in it.
This one I zoned out during. As much as I love sci-fi, it kind of looked like just another shooter, like wall running, sure, but I didn't see much that was doing it for me.
What is that? There's like that one that's very parkour heavy that's had 2 games in the series so far. Like you play as a
Titanfall.
Titanfall, of course, but you play as like a cyborg ninja or something like that. This looks like a
Ghost
more
Runner.
Yes, thank you. This looks like a more generic version of Ghost Runner. So hey, that it looks like, I think the way that like the camera moves, it looks very dynamic, and I always like that. Sorry, the video was halfway up the screen the whole time. Sorry, everybody. I just think like, hey, I hope this one like really goes above and beyond and feels awesome, because just looking at it, I'm not too inspired by it. All right, then we kind of get to the end game here with Mind's Eye. This is from Leslie Benzi's new studio, Build a Rocket Boy.
Oh, right.
And it's kind of a open world shooter action game that seems to have some other stuff going on in terms of the story. It's got someone looks like Jey Uso, and then the gameplay was that Jey Uso character driving around a city, getting out of his car, either getting in a helicopter, and then getting his machine gun and just shooting gas stations until they exploded. And it looks more like a Grand Theft Auto game than I was expecting, even though it's very sci-fi and has a lot of other genre elements.
Big Xbox 360 vibes from this one, I gotta say.
No, I think you're right. I think this looks like a remaster of a game that would have came out on Xbox 360. Not that I think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, honestly, it could be a breath of fresh air, but it definitely it stood out a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I thought the trailer looked a little generic, and then they had the sci-fi elements, so I'm not sure how I feel about this one. It didn't do much for me. But again, maybe it could be more interesting once we see more of it, more of a breath of fresh air, depending on what they're doing. I will say we have a question from the chat here from one Nikki Grayson. They say, quote, "Why didn't they say who the fuck the Benz was?"
Yeah, they're afraid to say that he's from the Grand Theft Auto studio, mostly because everyone is afraid of Rockstar. So
as you should be.
Yeah, I bet they can say from one of the makers of Grand Theft Auto. I bet Sony was like, please, let's not say that.
They're like,
Please
no, you can say like an industry visionary or something. You can't say Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, and legally, I'm sure they can, but I bet Sony's just like, we don't want to do anything.
You just don't want to deal with them, dude.
To mess up anything with Take-Two, especially Rockstar, and especially Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, they can do what they want over there. We don't want to piss them off.
Like, honestly, we will throw your game in the trash before we jeopardize anything with Grand Theft Auto 6. And then Rahul Kohli brought it all home with Saros, I think is how I'm going to say this. New Housemarque game inspired by Returnal. What'd you think of this one?
Not much to think because no gameplay. But I mean, hey, new Housemarque game, cool. Housemarque does good stuff. More of the Returnal formula, presumably that like roguelite, whatever. Third-person shooter. I would think it's safe to assume. It's sort of just following in the vein of Returnal, and that could be cool. I'm kind of with you and Mike. I didn't love Returnal as much as other people did, but I thought it was a good game, and so
definitely plays good. Yeah.
Anytime a studio does this where they follow up something that had a very strong foundation, I'm all for it. Because you learn from what went well and what didn't go well, and hey, maybe this game will be amazing for it, right?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. I think they'll really nail it this time. Returnal's issues were not in how it played, were not in its style or its presentation. It was just in how rote it felt after the third time you were doing a run, which is, I think, a pretty rough thing for a roguelite. You want each run to feel distinct and special and like, oh my God, I didn't know this game could be this as well. And it's like, kind of no matter what weapon you picked, Returnal was going to feel like Returnal. So by the time you're beating that game, it is, rote is the word. I hesitate to say bored, but I definitely was just not as thrilled as like a game like Hades, where every run felt so different from the last one. But they have said, hey, this is going to play like Returnal. This is going to have that you're going to get stronger in the next run. They've also apparently emphasized in places that it's going to be less punishing than Returnal, which was a tough game, but not impossible. But they're going to say there's going to be things that like permanent upgrades that carry from run to run, things like that. It comes out in 2026. And overall, I'm pretty into it. It also did make me want to watch Midnight Mass again, which is Rahul Kohli's big thing that he's done. Excellent spooky show about vampires. Everyone should watch that. All right. How was your overall feeling on the state of play?
I think in terms of announcements, it was kind of all right.
All right. Yep.
All right. It not a ton of stuff that blew us away. Some updates on stuff we knew, some smaller stuff along the way. I think it was an okay showing. I do want to give them props, though. Like we pointed out in the last state of play, they have figured out the pacing. They have figured out the presentation side of things. As it turns out, Nintendo did the Nintendo Directs the way they have for over a decade now for a reason. And just, I think Sony's presentations have gotten a lot better because they are just, following that formula, just rapid fire with the trailers, and also like build up a presentation with a lot of small stuff, couple heavy hitters here and there. I think the presentation was pretty good, even if the announcements were a bit so-so. Yeah,
I think for what they had and what they showed off, I was pretty happy with it. A lot of that is, grading on a curve. State of plays have been very disappointing, and I don't think this one was disappointing. It didn't have the massive, like, bring them home 11 o'clock numbers that really get everyone feeling like buzzing coming out of a show like this. But it had some good stuff, some surprises out of nowhere, a good shadow drop in Dragon or Warriors, whatever it's called. And so, stuff to be excited about. And I think they did a good job with what they had. And I think we just have a good idea of PlayStation. These are the games they're going to have this year. It's going to be these games and then Marathon, basically. And then, what was the other big one they announced? Oh, Yote. They're going to have Yote. That'll be those would be the big games for them this year. And then 2026, they're already making promises for that year, and I think it's really going to pop off for them then.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break, come back, and get through the rest of the news. Don't have a ton of time to do so, but we'll make it work right after this. All right. PlayStation 5 enjoys best holiday period, reaching 75 million shipments. Let's see here. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. PlayStation 5 enjoyed its best holiday period ever in 2024 and has now cleared 75 million units shipped for the PS5. Sony announced that on Thursday morning. In the company's financial results for the 3 months that ended December 31st, 2024, Sony reported shipments of 9.5 million PS5 consoles, the best quarter ever of the PS5 era, and only 0.2 million behind PlayStation 4's peak in Q3 of fiscal 2017. Launch-aligned, PlayStation 5 is now just 1.5 million units behind PlayStation 4 during the same period of its life cycle. Sony has shipped 15.7 million units of the PlayStation 5 console during the first 3 quarters of its current year, with a target of 18 million by the end of March. The results included sales of PS5 Pro, which launched in November for the first time, but Sony did not provide separate sales figures for the console. PS5 enjoys, blah, 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 75 million sold. Overall, it sounds like they really got, like, they nailed it in the corner of the last quarter of the year. A big part of that was, I think the PS5 Pro did help them, and people who were holding off on buying hardware all jumped on at that point. And whether they were buying the PS5 Pro or standard PS5, Sony sold quite a bit of hardware. So this is a pretty good result for them. What do you think?
I think they're doing an impressive job with the PS5, all things considered, with this generation and with that hardware. Considering how there's been a bit of a lack of software because just the state of the industry, how long it takes to make games, how difficult it is to make games, especially, having the pandemic. Much as people want to write it off, that did completely upend a lot of studios for the first 2 to 3 years of this generation. And so it's impressive how many units they're selling. As we talk about all the time, that doesn't necessarily translate to software sales. They still have some bangers on their hands. That is why they're expanding into using PC as an alternate platform for their games later on. But in terms of just getting consoles out there, it seems like they're doing a really impressive job.
Yeah, they went on to say that Sony reported that sales for its Game and Network Services division, which is the PlayStation division, were up 12% year on year to about $761 million. As a result, it raised its sales revenue forecast by 3% for the current fiscal year, which ends in April 2025. Part of this has just got to be the, I think a lot of people who were on the fence or maybe were invested in an Xbox going like, maybe it's time to just go get on that PlayStation bandwagon, right? Because I mean, for as much as Xbox say we're going to be everywhere, that is going to have, I think, a knock-on effect that benefits PlayStation of like, well, if you still really care about the console experience, there's one that is of that ilk that still seems very, very dedicated to that, and it's Sony. And they also had a new hardware. There's a number here, 42% of PS5 console sales during the last quarter were to new users. Now, how they define new users, I don't know, but I think that's got to be part of that, right?
Yeah, I think these sales, if I'm reading this right, would account for microtransactions as well, if it's just entire sales through PSN. And they definitely have some whales on the platform now, feeding into things like your, Call of Duty, Fortnite, and everything. As we know, Fortnite is gigantic on PlayStation, and the more PS5s that are getting out there, more and more people are just playing their live service games on there, while also having the exclusives around when they come out. So yeah, makes sense to me.
I think even for the quarter, hardware sales were actually up year over year. Because
they had new hardware, so sure.
Right, exactly. So I think that's a good sign. That's something that wasn't a guarantee. All the quarters leading up to that, they were down double digits. So having new hardware to help turn that around, clearly that's going to help. But the fact that it worked, good sign for them. I think it shows that kind of thawing of the ice of how people are feeling about spending money on consoles at the moment. So yeah, kind of good news all around. Sony very clearly still looking for a pathway forward to long-term sustainable double-digit growth. They aren't going to be able to find that pretty easily, but the fact that they have such solid fundamentals puts them in a good position to figure this stuff out, right? Concord did not ruin them by any means, right?
No, it didn't ruin them, but it definitely wasn't great.
I mean, spoiled their strategy, of course, yes.
Yeah, then that's kind of what I'm worried about, is that they definitely had a strategy that they were going for, and it wasn't the only strategy they had. They definitely have things in the fire, are things in the arm, however the hell that goes.
Irons in the fire, yeah.
Irons in the fire,
there
thank you. Yeah. I knew you got me. But yeah, it was definitely a blow, but it's not like the end of PlayStation. They just had to They're got to pivot a little bit.
Yep, and they just, I think all of these financial results afford them the latitude to pivot. Like, they're going to have plenty of time to figure this out. They just can't panic, and it doesn't seem like they are. They're going to like kind of go to ground. Hey, make more traditional games, smaller games based on older IP.
Yeah.
If that's the plan for the next couple of years, thumbs up.
Yeah, speaking of learning, they'll take the hit and they'll learn from it.
PlayStation says it's planning to release more family games like Astrobot. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. PlayStation says it's planning to release more games like that. Speaking during an earnings call on Thursday, Sony president Hiroki Totoki highlighted that Team Asobi's platformer's recent awards success and said that it validated its intention to expand its family offerings in the future. At the Game Awards 2024, our first-party title, Astrobot, won 4 categories, including Game of the Year and Best Family Game, the most of any title, he said. In addition, the live service game Helldivers 2, which was released in February last year, won Best Ongoing Game and Best Multiplayer Game. The fact that titles and genres we are planning to expand in the future, including titles for families and live service games, have received these awards is a major stride towards building a broad title portfolio. So I think this is kind of them just gesturing towards that thing we were just saying. They are looking to do more different kinds of games rather than just the Sony traditional first party single player narrative driven game, and then obviously not live service games.
Exactly. You need to diversify a little bit, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, that's how you get something like, Concord upending the strategy that you were going to rely on. Because when people are fickle, and when they realize that, they don't want this anymore, well, then you're kind of SOL on that one. I think Astrobot is a perfect example of what they need more of. Maybe they should add some additional content to Astrobot or something like that.
5 new weekly speedrun levels and a special bot update begin rolling out today, Sean. TikTok Shock. It's happening. I think it is time for another Astrobot open. We'll have to find some time in the slot in the schedule for that, though.
I joked at the top of the show, who needs a PS5? Me, because I don't have one anymore. I need to play Astrobot. It's a good game, damn it.
Honestly, there's got to be like maybe one at the office that no one uses or something like that. Maybe we could just like loan that to you.
I'll just bother Dan from. He has like 7.
Yeah, exactly. Get a hand-me-down. Xbox's next-gen console hardware has now been fully approved, according to reports. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. Basically, Jess Gordon just said, let's see, I think there's the quote here. Recently, I've been told that Xbox's next-gen console hardware has now moved past its early pitch stages and has been fully approved and costed all the way up the chain. Essentially, Sean, what that means is they know what the chip is, they know who's going to make it, they know the price per wafer, all that stuff has been nailed down, which is really what we're talking about when we're talking about designing a console these days. So,
yeah. And I would hope so at this point, because this console is coming out as soon as, the end of next year, probably maybe 2027, I guess. But
if this is what we're hearing right now, I'm kind of, maybe 2027. But I think there's obviously still a chance that this happened long before this, and we're just hearing about it now. But you're right. Yeah, if this thing's coming out in 2026, this had to have happened by now.
Xbox definitely needs something to upend the hardware end of things, because, they're getting their asses beat a little bit here in terms of consoles. And as hopefully people know by now, that is not the only thing they have going for them. So they don't need to push consoles. But, putting a new console out there will help refresh things at the very least. And they have pivoted to a more mid-gen update strategy. So why not put one out there a little bit earlier than PlayStation probably would?
Pokemon developer unveils new RPG called Pandoland, coming out in April. This is from Evan Campbell at GameSpot. Game Freak, best known for developing the Pokemon franchise, is working on a new smartphone RPG named Pandoland. The title is slated to arrive in late April, with pre-registration available now on iOS and Android. Signing up can net you diamonds, blah, 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 a bunch of bullshit. Hey, Game Freak always puts out great games, especially when they're not called Pokemon, right?
When they're smaller in scope, they actually do tend to put out better products. I looked this one up. Yeah, it looks, speaking of voxels, it looks kind of like in that style. It reminds me of, I forget because it wasn't very good, there was a Pokemon like sort of Diablo-ish thing that was all based on voxels, and at least visually it looks like that. Yeah, I don't know. It looks okay. It looks like a bunch of other mobile games, but like you said, Game Freak does tend to do good stuff when they do their own stuff that they want to do. So maybe this will be good.
Yep, I'm always ready to check out Game Freak's stuff. Oh my God, I just got a pop up from VGC. It Takes Two has sold 23 million copies. Just nuts.
When you say your game of the year, yeah, of course.
Really, really helps. Star Fox Art. First, I want to point out you erased one story to put this here, and you're here. We should talk about this. Star Fox
I'm
Art.
sorry. You can rotate the fucking Switch too, so that way you can use the other USB port. All right, good story, Jeff. Moving on.
I'm glad you axed that one. Star Fox Artist says he wants GameCube title Star Fox Assault to be playable on Switch too. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The GameCube action game celebrates its 20th anniversary this week, so former Nintendo artist Takeya Imamura posted a sketch on Twitter asking for both it and Steel Diver Sub Wars, which turns 9 this week, to be available on Nintendo's next console. Hell yeah! He wants Crystal, I want submarines. I'm a dad, damn it. His latest illustration shows Fox McCloud holding a submarine saying, "Today is the release anniversary of Star Fox Assault and Steel Diver Sub Wars. I hope both will be playable on the Switch too." What are the chances of this?
Low. To non-existent.
I'm here. Okay. Standing on business. I guarantee this game will be playable near launch of the Switch 2. Guarantee it. I'm just saying shit, but I'm here. I'm just like,
what do you know?
Oh, nothing. I'm like, let's go ham on this one, so that if it becomes true, it looks awesome. That's what we're doing here, everybody.
So first of all, hi Reddit.
Buy Reddit. Get your asses out of here. Get back in your Reddit hole.
Second of all, this game rocks. I love
fun
Star
game.
Fox Assault. It's a fun game. It's underrated. Yeah, it's not perfect. The on-foot segments where I actually like them quite a bit, but it's not what people wanted because they're very arcadey, like the tank controls and everything like that. But I think Assault is a really underrated game. I think it's a lot of fun, and especially that opening level. That opening level is one of the best opening levels in a video game ever. It's fantastic. I love it. And yeah.
Karate-chan says, am I willing to bet my hair on it? I will bet myself to get a haircut because I really need one. So,
the lowest stakes bet possible.
Yeah, exactly. And then Nikki in chat says, Star Fox ass.
Star Fox ass? I mean, does he have one? Really?
Maybe Star Fox ass. This is a qualitative statement.
That's a little different. That's a little different.
But I'm choosing to believe it's Star Fox ass.
Jeff, they need to treat Star Fox better.
Yeah, it needs its glow up for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a series that has like some bad memories associated with it. Like, Adventures was a wild diversion that they didn't really need to do, but Rare did anyways. People don't remember Assault fondly. No. Zero's a good game, contrary to what some people think, because I
never really tried it. I think I played it at E3, and
it's platinum, dude. It feels good to play, and everyone's like, "Oh, but the gamepad." Oh, guess what? You don't need the gamepad.
I bet on emulator, that's probably a really good game. I bet they like.
I played it. Look, I played it on Semu the other day. It is fantastic. It feels so good.
I'm gonna try it. All right. Let's see here. Poll question from yesterday. Are you playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Yes or no? I am. It runs really well on the Steam Deck. Oh, holy shit. Only 15% of people said yes. 85% of people said no. I'm surprised by that result because this game is selling a ton. It has a ton of concurrence on Steam. Got up to like 250,000 or something. Nuts like that. That's just concurrent players. So it has to have sold millions of copies by now. I think this game is solid. It reminds me a lot of a JRPG. And it's like hard to explain, I think, a little bit, but just the way that it funnels you from like fun little gameplay gimmick to fun little gameplay gimmick where it's like, okay, you got in trouble for this one action in this one cutscene or this one dialogue tree. So now you have to pay for your dinner by moving these bags over to this platform, to work off your debt or whatever. It just feels like the kind of thing that would happen early on in a 16-bit RPG. But I don't know. And then it just kind of goes back to back from those kinds of things, at least early in the game, to the point where I'm waiting for it to open up and become like medieval Skyrim, like I was promised, and it still hasn't done that. It's just like these quirky little things, one after another. And I'm mostly charmed by them. But my big takeaway, Sean, it's a really hokey game. It's really cheesy, and I think
hokey's good sometimes. Sometimes you need a little levity, right?
I think so. I think it's mostly a good thing in this case. It is it's happy to be what it is, and I think that sort of strength in believing what it is really goes a long way towards selling you on the whole thing.
There you go.
I don't. It's not like a great game, though. I think a lot of people are overstating kind of what it is. Either way, we've got a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do that, Sean, TurboShawn McDowell, tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you've been working on, and all that good stuff.
TurboShawn.com, SHAWN, over on Blue Sky, and here on Giant Bomb, doing stuff behind the scenes most of the time. Later today, we got the voicemail dump truck, of course. I think we need a couple substitutions, so I think I've roped in Mikey and Nikki to fill in there.
Thank you, Sean.
Mostly because I need Nikki to question Mike about his words and deeds.
I'm looking forward
and then
to it.
tomorrow, GMM, maybe Tam will be here, maybe not. We'll see what happens. And then a BCR after that. I think a UPF. Are we doing the thing that we talked about for UPF? Is that what we're doing?
I think so, and I remember what you're talking about.
Okay. So, got stuff for you through the rest of the week, everybody.
Yeah, I want to do UPF, so we'll make something happen, and we'll figure out exactly what that is. New poll question: grade the state of play where 4 stars is the highest. 4, 3, 2, 1 stars. They're asterisks, actually, but go vote. YouTube.com/@GiantBomb community.
And I'll remember to put that poll up.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, for doing that. Yeah, vote on that. We'll get the results for Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, as Sean said, we got plenty of stuff happening. But tune in here in a little bit. I will be starting to play Avowed in about 50 minutes.
See, that's the thing I was talking about. I didn't know if we were doing that for UPF or for this.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we could do. We're going to do that today because the embargo's at 1, and we're going to talk about it on BCR tomorrow. I think Jan and or Nikki will also be able to talk about something they did, a preview they had earlier this week.
Right.
They'll be able to talk about that on BCR. We'll try to make that happen. We'll also have Nathan Grayson. All these N Graysons everywhere. Nathan Grayson will talk about his new book, which is about Twitch streamers. Actually, I think I have it over here somewhere. Let me just.
Physical media.
Yeah, stream big. The triumphs and turmoils of Twitch and the stars behind the screen. Nathan Grayson. Yeah, we'll talk to him about his books and all that stuff. That'll happen tomorrow. And then we'll figure out a UPF. I think there's some ideas. I want to do that big helmet game, the one that's kind of a 3D Castle Crashers. Maybe we could do that. Or maybe we could just play a bunch of different games. We'll see. All right, Sean, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talk about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Always a fun time.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.